themselves want would enable Labor to support the bill.
I call the honourable member Shane Ardern.
Mr Chairman, it is a privilege to rise and speak in this debate today in the committee stage. Before I do, though, I need to declare an interest as a part of a trust that has shares in Fonterra. Mr Chairman, can I assure the Parliament and those that have just spoken that it is in most dairy farmers' DNA, one being the one who's speaking to you, to maintain 100% ownership in Fonterra. It is absolutely in their DNA, and I've heard the contribution from the other side about as low as 50%. There is nothing to back that up. In fact, my own research out there as to whether it was the big corporate farmers versus the mum, dad, hard worker farmer who voted in this vote yes or no, I would suggest the split of those that were concerned was equal with the larger shareholders or milk solids providers as it was with the ordinary mum-dad farmer. So there is no evidence to say that the support is as low as 50%, and it would be interesting to know the outcome of that, but not relevant in this debate. So I would suggest that the members concentrate on the facts. 66% of those that voted through milk solids voted in favour. That is a mandate by any comparison with anything that happens in this Parliament. And the fact that the constitutional change, which required 75%, achieved 72% and not 75%, is disappointing, but I'm sure it will be rectified, as the Minister said, when the next opportunity arises. And if not, then that is the decision of the shareholders themselves. And to suggest, as some have, that 10,400 independent business people, which are the shareholders of Fonterra, don't have the wit, the intelligence, the ability, the knowledge, the understanding, the ability to get the right advice, the ability to look at the facts and on balance make a call, is insulting to the 10,400 shareholders that have made that call. The fact is that this company and this industry over the last 8 years have seen something like a 280% increase in turnover, 280%, and now represent about 25% of the total export earnings from this country. Suggests to you, I think, Mr Chairman, that this group of individuals do have the wit, the ability, the lifestyle and the interest at stake to ensure that the decisions they make going forward are in the best interest of their own industry, plus the best interest of New Zealand Inc. And if members opposite believe that there is an entity, a structure, a company in New Zealand that has more New Zealand Inc. at heart than what this company has, then suggest them, bring them forward. I haven't been able to find them. Maybe my research is not wide enough, but to suggest that this company does not have New Zealand's best interest or New Zealand Inc.'s best interest at heart, I think is actually insulting to the facts. And so, Mr Speaker, Fonterra is a priceless asset to the New Zealand dairy farmers, and it is a priceless asset to New Zealand. And farmers in many parts of the world are very, very envious of the structure we have. They're also very, very envious of the market structures that have been developed. But that doesn't get past the fact that this company was faced with a substantial redemption risk. In fact, it was built in to the formation of the company, if you go back to the history of it. And of course, that was with the compromise that must be struck between free entry exit to exist so that you can have a dynamic dairy industry in New Zealand and having capital that can flow in and out freely. And this, Mr Speaker, Mr Chairman, is a very, very good solution to that problem, which is to have an ability for those that, for whatever reason, wish to divest themselves of the dividend rights in the shares into a separate custodian group, which will be able to trade those dividend rights and overcome the substantial redemption risk that exists. In the process leading up to this, there's been some interesting debate, and I'm reminded of Gareth Morgan actually saying in 2004 that the dairy industry was dicing with disaster. And of course, Mr. Chairman.
I call the honourable member.
Mr. Chairman, Gareth Morgan said in 2004 the industry was dicing with disaster, and that the industry should look upon a different structure. Now, he was referring to the risk that existed from redemption, but he actually couldn't have been more wrong, because, as I said earlier on, there has been a staggering growth rate since those comments were made, and this company now is the envy of the world in terms of its ability to trade into 150-odd different countries in the world, some of them with industries bigger than Fonterra and some with industries bigger than the New Zealand economy, and compete. And others have tried. There are plenty of examples where others have decided that they can niche market into the very sophisticated end of the product range and achieve a dividend for it. And so far, the evidence of them being able to do that is at best marginal, at best challengeable. But some will no doubt achieve that, and I hope that they do, because it's in the best interest of New Zealand and of the industry at large that there are a number of players that can compete at farm gate price. Part of the process here that's being debated, Mr. Chairman, is about how that farm gate price will be set. And it's interesting to note that the concerns raised by the opposition members about what may happen with the size of the tradable fund have taken precedent, when probably the most vexed issue or question for the whole debate so far has been how that farm gate milk price may be set and what intervention the state may have in regard to that. The compromise that's been met in this bill is that the milk price manual, which is set out and publicly released by Fonterra, is now going to be enshrined in legislation. The independent panel that feeds into the information that goes into that manual are going to be there by statute, and the Commerce Commission itself finally will have an annual ability to overlook how that process takes place. And the Commerce Commission themselves raised some issues with the Select Committee which were very interesting. The Select Committee did what it could to address those issues, and I think, Mr. Chairman, that the position we've finished up in is one of a compromise without doubt, but certainly something that will assist the industry with the issues it raised. And I think we shouldn't forget it was the industry itself that raised the concerns with government, came to government for amendments, and so the end result of those amendments and the end result of those negotiations are what we have here today. So, Mr. Chairman, it's a privilege to have been a part of the process, and I look forward to its passage through the House.
I call the honourable member Stephen Browning.